To introduce myself, I am Madeline. I converted to Islam just before I was 75, and I have since self taught myself Arabic. That is to say, I can read most of the words in a recitation from the Holy Quran, but I need to build a vocabulary. I have a BSc in philosophy with logic, but when I was a young woman, 52 years ago, I was a mainframe computer operator, which was quite revolutionary, really, because apparently I was very intelligent but didn't know it, and it was the most, shall we say, exciting and challenging job, I think, that a woman of modest education, although I was a great reader at the time. I had not obtained my degree at that time, but I went on to obtain my degree because I was discovered in an extramural class when I wrote an essay entitled Neoplatonism for a Modern Society. I was very into Neoplatonism, which turns out to be the theology of Islam, so it was coming over time. Anyway, that's me, and I've made a video, only I decided to make this introduction separately. I have been ill for a very long time because I had a wrong diagnosis and was given powerful drug therapy for a condition I didn't have, and I had a very rare and extreme allergy to it because it failed to exit my body and it blocked my endocrine system. What I say to the health authorities is prescribed medication lay undetected, blocking my endocrine system for more than 20 years until a granuloma burst in my right ear, and I suffered from blackouts and swelling, and they told me it was all in my imagination, which was exceedingly cruel. I can't tell you how callous they were, but I survived. As the health authority told me, you are a survivor, and the female spokesperson said for the health authority about what had happened to me, which is a metabolic disaster. She said, well, they have to learn on someone. So that's how much value I have had. I have been less than nothing in the eyes of the Western system, and they said you are what is described as wastage. And so I would urge you all to convert to Islam, because Islam is the religion of brotherly and sisterly love. There is none in the West. You're on your own. And many people in Muslim countries are amazed that most Western people end up living alone. And of course, Western younger people no longer look after their parents or elderly relatives. You have to look after yourself because, for instance, care homes, so-called, in Britain have a dreadful reputation for abuse. I know someone who used to praise a certain care home, but she won't go in there. They should be closed down because they're extremely expensive, and it was years ago, well, not so long ago, there was a case of extreme abuse of, for instance, old people being left without heating and they got pneumonia because the owner was enjoying themselves on a Mediterranean coastline and was only interested in collecting the money. That's what it's like in the West. They're only interested in collecting the money. It's a ghastly philosophy. And as for religion, it's only used for hatches, matches, and dispatches. Churches are empty or closing down or falling apart. And given the history of Christianity in the West, where charity was indeed cold, they had the deserving and the undeserving poor. Wealthy women could adorn themselves and be extremely vain, but poor people had to be very plain, or they were in trouble. In fact, there were laws saying what level of dress you could wear, sort of if you could wear silk. The poor, of course, couldn't. The poor were supposed to wear very plain woolen clothes in dull colours. That's another thing too. One law for the rich, one law for the poor. With Islam, there is the same law, the same rules for everybody. And zakat, charity, is obligatory. It should be. Nobody should be incredibly rich when their people are hungry and ragged. But in the West, people are hungry and ragged. In the West now, there is deep poverty. In British towns, children have been seen ragged, barefoot, hungry and dirty. And in fact, people are so poor that schools have had to get in laundries because pupils are coming to school absolutely rotten with dirt. So that is it as regards the West. The ruling authorities do not care. They never did. There are images of the Edwardian aristocracy wearing so many jewels, I wonder they could walk. But the other images are of children barefoot and in filthy rags. And they weren't interested. There were one or two philanthropists, that's true, but on the whole, Western society does not care about each other. So I would urge you to convert to Islam, because the Muslim community is strong, and it's caring, and it's loving, and it's respectful. Well, I shall sign off now. I think I've said enough.